Hello, 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 everyone. I am just here to chat about a very interesting topic: villains who are right. And I'm going to be bringing on some of my guests. Please welcome.
In Latveria, we have no need for introductions, for everyone knows Doom.
Clearly. Alrighty, please welcome also.
Hey guys!
And our final guest, though he is under an assumed name, but we'll reveal him as who he is.
The current Wolf Lord of the Space Wolves is Logan Grimnar, also known as the Old Wolf. He rules from the Hall of the Great Wolf, together with his Wolf Lords such as Herald Deathwolf, Eagle Iron Wolf, and Bjorn Stormwolf.
All I got out of that was wolf, 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 and wolf.
The Space Wolves are incredibly uninspired.
One of my favorite books of all time is 1984 by George Orwell. I have a collection of dystopian novels and I live in Japan. I want to bring down the civil system for it takes away what makes us human.
How lovely.
Yep. I actually got two pictures in store for this.
Lovely. Alrighty. So, let's kind of introduce this. So, villains who are right. It's mostly like, I think a lot of it's going to be just like villains who have sound philosophy is going to be the main thing, or villains who aren't just, I am evil for the sake of being evil, or villains who are just greedy.
Or it's just my job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, I'm getting paid to do this, so leave me alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They have a point.
Yeah.
If they may not have it well, they may be hypocritical about their point, but the point stands.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in terms of villains, there are two main categories that we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing utilitarians, and we're going to be discussing moral antagonists. And by utilitarians, what I'm going to be using is basically just ends justify the means people. Like they're saying, is it more noble to kill a dozen men at dinner than 10,000 in battle, for instance? Or
that actually sounds a lot like Kiritsuka's philosophy from Fate Zero.
Kill the few to save the many.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then in the end, you'll only end up killing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
maybe you should have added on Movie Bob.
There's no such thing as a villain. By being a villain, well, not necessarily. Javert has some measure of a point when he is attempting to get his hands on Valjean. He's saying the rule of law is the most important thing to Javert. He doesn't fully believe in like redemption or mercy, but he is right that the law is something that is important.
No,
Yes.
prisoner 24601. Your time is up and your parole's begun. You know
I'm not.
what that means.
There's a very, very good reason why I chose to use the 1998 version, where it's Jeffrey Rush, who is a much better actor than Russell Crowe, playing Javert, instead of the 2012 abortion.
Oh God. Yeah.
We at least got
And
memes from that.
it's not that they are right, Crow. It's that they have a point.
Yeah. Yes, that is actually a very good point. I probably should have put Arthas up there instead, because Arthas is very much he sees the fact that the people are about to be killed, or at least they turn into bad guys. Well, turn into zombies, so he decides I should kill them before they're turned into zombies.
Knives also
Yeah.
have points. We know Crow.
Mhm. Yeah.
They do
Yes.
have points.
So, but we're also going to be discussing villains who are moral, as in characters who have like a moral compass that leads them to do specific things within the plot and that drive the story. They're not like
Magneto's a very good example of this.
Mhm. Yeah. So let's kind of start off with utilitarians. So utilitarian character who has a
They're the ones that end justify the means.
Yep. So in terms of with this one, you need to have a character who is trying to accomplish some kind of good goal, like Ozymandias, world peace; Tywin Lannister, peace in the realm and the end to a war; Baez, the end of war; and Thanos, curtailing overpopulation. But you need to very carefully set up the fact that they believe in it, but also they are doing very terrible things in order to accomplish said goal.
Yes.
I guess they'll go first.
Okay.
The reason why I picked Shogo Makishima because he was the first villain I saw who had this mentality. He knew he was right. Everyone knows. Because he has an object. He sees everything because he's special for a reason. He views everything through an objective lens, and to him, no matter what, the goal is to destroy the civil system because it's taking away our humanity. It's forcing us to be the model citizen, the very kind of citizen he's read about. But to him, he doesn't care how he'll accomplish it. He just cares that he'll only accomplish it in the end. This can be from sowing chaos into the streets of Japan. I think it was Tokyo, maybe. Threatening to actually poison the food supply in the first season, and when he later died, as well as doing whatever it took to bring down the civil system. But what made him right? He had motivations. It's what made him a likable character. Yeah, he actually had nice charisma, and his personality is just amazing, as well as showing the hypocrisy of the civil system, especially when it came to him, of all people.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad the second season flopped this with their villain, who also wanted to bring down the civil system, but lacked the motivation that Makishima had.
Mm-hmm.
So the theory is like being a good citizen in what respects? Is it like you need to be loyal to your country, or in the respects of you will follow the ethical code of your country and people generally aren't doing that?
It's more psychological. It's all based around keeping a good level. It's all based around keeping a good side of mental health, called the psychopath system, where it would weigh how likely you are to be a criminal. However, because everything is judged through an objective lens.
Mm-hmm.
However, this messes this up for one reason. All the civil system is operated by a very, very weird system. In fact, one of the characters who's an enforcer, which is a latent criminal that's been turned into an assistant detective, one of them was a 5-year-old, and he got convicted at 5 years. One of them was I think he was a teenager. He was at least in his 20s. Mm-hmm. He was convicted at 5 years old and branded a latent criminal, even though he didn't do anything.
Oh, is this that one series where it's basically the Minority Report system, where they like detect whether somebody has criminal intent and to break the law in the future, and then punish them preemptively?
Yep, psychopaths.
Yeah, that is what I was thinking of. I've heard of it, haven't seen it.
You should see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like the theory behind that, if you were to like strip away all the proper nouns around it, it's basically the so where does this character stands in opposition to those police who are the protagonists? Is that right?
Yes, he stands in opposition to them, but yes, he stands actually in opposition to them. In fact, one of them even has a personal grudge against him. But the civil system at first will not let Makishima be killed for a very, very special reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's because he has a way of thinking that kind of strips him of his emotions.
Mm-hmm.
He views everything through a more objective lens point of view.
Does that mess with the attempt to tell whether he's a criminal or not because he's so cool?
No, civil system is actively doing it on purpose. Because the thing is, the civil system is made up of people like him.
Mm-hmm.
People who judge everything through an objective point of view. In order to be, they are made up of the people like him, and they judge it. The people who always will leave subjectivity out of it and only look through everything through objectivity. In a sense, that's not all. When you get into the big twist at the around the midpoint, that's when everything starts crumbling. And when you realize the civil system is somehow it somehow is worse. Is it's like it's the law, but it's not right.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. Not like a big long plot explanation.
Yeah.
So the root conflict in that series is the law correct or not? And you have protagonists on the side of law, and this character standing against it. But there's the question of whether or not the law is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Does the concept of reform come up?
No, not really. Once you fall in, you're most likely not going to get out. But if your psychopath develops into the yellow zone, then you'll probably be locked up. But if they deem you worthy enough, they may make you an enforcer, essentially a dog, a hunting dog of sorts, where they use you as a system to help track down criminals. But anyone can become. It's only if you show potential. I don't know if reform comes up, but I don't think any of them really reform because they are unable to.
I think.
I mean, is the system reformable?
No.
I think that one thing that also is very important in terms of utilitarian villains is usually they have a sense of pride and arrogance about them. They're saying my way is the best way, and any other ways are just either half measures. Technically, the Punisher can come into this category where he says like no half measures, no prison, just shoot him.
Not exactly. Punisher's something entirely different from this.
Yeah. Well, at least like he just says no. Well, like in terms of just like no half, at least like Punisher in the Daredevil show, he's like there shouldn't be any half measures. If somebody's a bad guy, you kill him.
Kinda, but there's different underlying motives. There's the very, very, very strong implication that at the end of the Punisher's journey, he's going to punish himself. So he knows he's an asshole. So in his mind, Punisher might think he's a villain who is right, but not to everybody else. And that's the interesting part of Punisher is how do you read him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think like a big example is like Tywin Lannister, who like he's kind of a hypocrite in a lot of ways, where he's kind of like where he says explain to me why it is more noble to kill 10,000 men in battle than a dozen at dinner, when in reality about 10,000 men were killed at the Red Wedding along with the dozen at dinner.
So they'll basically resort to like mathematical defenses, while ignoring the human element of who these people are. They're just numbers to them.
Yeah, they're kind of like they're arrogant, very cynical usually, and they'll usually like kind of have a low view of humanity. Is kind of a lot of what makes a utilitarian villain character. like they believe that they are superior. Like Thanos believes that like his view is superior, and he has the power to accomplish his goal, which is halving all of life in the universe, which is only a temporary solution, but he sees it as the best solution because it's worked in the past for him.
It would be better if you used the Infinity War Thanos pick instead of Endgame Thanos.
I just thought it might
I don't
work.
think it matters.
It's roughly the same character. They just kind
it
of
wasn't comic accurate either way.
Yeah, it's basically I want to bone death, so I'll kill half of all life.
And then later Deadpool cucks him.
Yeah, the interesting thing is what happens to Thanos' character after he realizes that Death basically screwed him over and used him as a pawn, where he basically goes out and actually spends a decent stint as an anti-hero of all things.
Yeah, where he becomes a farmer, and what's his face? The guy who was born out of a cocoon with the Mind Stone on
Adam
his
Warlock.
Adam Warlock, yeah. Yeah. Where Adam Warlock picks up the stones, and then there's a weird split with I think Linkara did a review.
Oh, he turns into the Magus, which is his evil side, and the Goddess, which is his good side, quote unquote. Whereas all that's left in Adam Warlock is a being of logic.
Mm-hmm. It does seem as though like we have it. I think like that's kind of the main thing about like a utilitarian bad guy is you have to have a bad guy who like has a very clear-cut philosophy. They stick to said philosophy, and they use morally dubious methods of accomplishing said philosophy. That seems to be
it's
the
like
main.
To them, the philosophy is everything, and if you're messing around with it, a utilitarian villain who is correct will see you as random and chaotic and like petty and wanting to cling to things that don't matter. They'll see you as irrational.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like Thanos sees the Avengers as just like you're trying to prevent me from creating a perfect society or at least like a solution to the problem of finite resources.
The problem is that you have to question, wouldn't snapping the fingers already screw over the planets that he already screwed over once?
Well, I will not get into the differences between the movie and the comics. I will not get into the differences between the movie and the comics.
I think you can get into the differences. It's fine. We have plenty of time. We've covered a lot of ground in the last 18 minutes, I think.
Grant!
Yeah, okay. The idea in the comics is that the way the gauntlet works is he's using all the stones together simultaneously, not as this magic kill switch, but each of them is performing a role in how it wipes out half the universe. And in the MCU, the one that actually does the killing is the Time Stone, because you'll notice everybody ages into dust. Interestingly enough, the first one we see age into dust is Bucky, and the last one we see age into dust, not counting the end credits, is Peter, who is the youngest. So that's sort of the justification behind that. But in the comics, it's just gone. No dust, no skeleton. You are removed, implying that it's the Reality Stone that's doing the killing. So the idea is that with all the stones put together, he has all the knowledge of the universe. He knows which planets he's hit over already and can then skip over them specifically. And then it's not really so much that he's hopping from planet to planet to planet, doing his thing, and then got the Infinity Stones to do it. He sought the Infinity Stones to do all of the hopping because just hopping from planet to planet, wiping out half of all life, that would be super inefficient, and the only way to do that in any kind of way that would be effective in accomplishing his goal of proclaiming the glory of death, essentially, is to get the Infinity Gauntlet to do it for him. There's no way to practically hop from planet to planet to planet. So he would never have done it before.
Mm-hmm. So this is an interesting example. The Galactic Empire is a justified government, and it would have worked if Palpatine didn't make xenophobic rules. It's the reason why so many aliens joined the rebellion.
I just screwed up aliens.
Yeah.
What xenophobic rules did he make? I don't recall that.
I think that's
EU. That's all EU. It's not in the actual
mainline continuity.
Yeah, it was implied in the movies, and the writers of the expanded universe ran with it.
I'd say screw those aliens.
Yeah, I thought it was just basically, if you were to just take what the movie said, that it was basically a power ploy. And it was more economic suppression than racial.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, how will the government, how would the emperor maintain control without the bureaucracy, and just the regional governors would be given full authority.
It didn't wind up mattering in the end, because the ultimate implication was that the Galactic Empire was just a means to an end, and that end was just like going to the Jedi.
Yeah, it's basically just, we want to kill the Jedi. That's the main thing, and rule the galaxy. That
is the titular revenge of the Sith. The movie title, the movie title is more going for Palpatine's motivation than the movie script does.
Yeah, I would agree.
See, I agree with Crow. Aliens don't matter.
Isn't Carnage just a psychopath who wants to murder people?
He's referring to the story Maximum Carnage, and the premise there is Carnage is a far more philosophical character, at least early on, because he's possessing or symbiotically merged to serial killer Cletus Cassidy. And what Carnage, unified together, tries to do to Spider-Man is convince him that deep down, Spider-Man really is not that different from him, and would actively kill his enemies if he had the chance. And the only reason he doesn't is because he's restrained by the law and stupid moral ethics. And so he's basically challenging Spider-Man on sort of a no-kill rule, but not really the same point as like a DC hero. He's basically challenging him on he's saying that if he found that guy who wound up killing Uncle Ben, he should have killed him on the spot, and that would have saved everything. That's ultimately where philosophically the Maximum Carnage story is going. Is that if Spider-Man killed, then the world would be a better place.
Basically, Punisher in the Daredevil TV show of season 2.
Kinda. And where Spider-Man opposes him on that is that back then, Spider-Man was very much an objectivist hero with a clear-cut right and wrong, because that was back in the time where Ditko actually reigned and made a lot of calls on this sort of plot development. And so Spider-Man chose, no, killing is bad because it is non-aggression principle violating to the extreme degree.
That and his uncle and aunt taught him better.
Basically, they're the Ma and Pa Kent of the Marvel universe. Always.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about Marvel, though. It's like, aside from Batman, I can't really think of any heroes who really have no-kill rules that are really
Superman does.
justifiable. But Superman doesn't have losing his parents at a young enough age to where it can traumatize him. Superman's sort of on the wrong end of that. But Batman actually has that trauma going for him to inform his actions, and more so than just about any other hero I can specifically think of. The only reason other heroes don't kill is because they didn't want their heroes to be killers, necessarily. Then the 90s happened.
Yeah.
So, like,
but my
Wonder
point
Woman
was Superman has those rules for different reasons, but he still needs them.
I think partially it's because Superman, like, this is getting off topic, but I'll allow this for just a second. I think that's partially because Superman is a man in a world of cardboard.
Yeah. I wondered if that would get brought up. So he doesn't kill because he has to control himself, and he'll lose control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to bring up on this point? Because I think that we talked about a lot about like the theory of like a utilitarian villain.
I don't think there's anything left to talk about. At least this one.
Yeah, not here. Maybe we'll think of something later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now we have the moral antagonist. This one's an interesting one because with this one, it's usually sometimes they'll do bad things, but they will feel bad about it, or they will have a moral compass either internal or external to themselves. Like Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins is very much Gotham needs to be cleansed so that the world, just like Constantinople or Rome. Javert is an example of the law is everything, and I need to ensure that I am bringing people to justice. And in particular, he just focuses in on Jean Valjean. The High Sparrow is saying Westeros and the upper class of Westeros is corrupt. We need to try and reestablish a fear of the gods and some kind of objective morality, because everybody that I can see is greedy. People are avoiding justice through trial by combat, that sort of thing. Killmonger, he's basically...
He has the potential.
He has potential to be, but he ultimately fails because let's kind of put this, firmly establish this. Killmonger is a psychopath. He is an angry psychopath who has no morality in the movies that we see. He basically says, just all he wants to do is start a race war because black people are oppressed, which that is true, but his way is basically just turning the system over so that it's white people who are getting killed. And it's like, you're just creating another problem that's waiting to happen. And dude.
The interesting thing is that Claw probably does fit into this better, because the entire point of Claw is that he wants to take advantage of the material that Wakanda is using, and hey, if they're not going to be forthcoming with it and want to be secretive and hide in their little holographic domes, then why not just jack it?
Well, he's kind of more just an opportunist type villain, like an opportunist greed type villain.
Okay, I may be leaking some comic stuff into there.
Mm-hmm.
Because Claw is supposed to be Black Panther's major nemesis. Killmonger is more of his venom.
Makes sense. I think another example is and morals is the character needs to have a strong needs to have moral principles. Maybe they hold to them, maybe they bend them slightly, but it's sometimes more interesting when there is a character who is morally, at least has a perception of morals, like Javert. He believes throughout the story that the law is everything and that criminals are just evil and they need to be put away. And then at the end, when Jean Valjean fakes his death and sends him away, he can't fully come to terms with the fact that a criminal showed him mercy, so he commits suicide rather than live with that cognitive dissonance.
Ouch.
Yes, because he realizes that he deserves to die. It's because the law came for him, and You can say whatever you want about You can say whatever you want about Javert, but Javert is not a hypocrite, and so when the law comes for him, he accepts his punishment.
Well, actually, like
Is that the point?
Actually, no. Javert is technically like in the right as far as the law is concerned the whole time.
Yeah, Javert. Not Javert. I keep confusing him. Jean Valjean is a criminal.
Yeah. Well, I think that's more just like not even that Jean Valjean like turns himself in or promises to turn himself in. It's that he saves Javert's life when Javert's about to be killed by the rebels in the streets of Paris.
Ah, okay, that's a point.
And so Javert leaves, and the attack happens. But after he does let Jean Valjean go. I think that there is a moment where he kind of runs into Javert, but the main thing that is bugging Javert is the fact that Jean Valjean saved his life. And that's why he throws himself off a bridge.
It is like his final song about how he's basically caught in a giant catch-22 because it's like no matter what he does, it's like damned if I do, blah 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 blah. No matter what he does, the law should come for him, and he is an offender now. There's something like that in there. I'm not articulating it very well, but you know what I'm talking about.
I think that I do. Let me read up the Wikipedia description. In the novel, okay, so, so basically, like Jean Valjean frees him, but then Javert comes out and he says, "I'm ready to surrender," but he asks for Javert's help in getting Marius to safety. They go, and Javert says that he'll wait for him, but when Jean Valjean looks out the window, he's gone. So he wanders the streets in turmoil. His mind simply cannot reconcile the image he had carried through the years of Jean Valjean as a brutal ex-convict with his acts of kindness at the barricades. Now Javert can be justified neither in letting Valjean go nor in arresting him. For the first time in his life, he is forced to face with a situation where he cannot act lawfully without acting immorally, and vice versa. Javert is unable to find a solution to this dilemma and is horrified at the sudden realization that Jean Valjean is simultaneously a good person and a criminal, a conundrum which reveals deep flaws in his ethical system and suggests to him the existence of a superior moral system. He feels that the only possible resolution for himself is death, and after leaving for the prefect of the police a brief letter addressing the lapses in the concierge, he drowns himself in the River Seine.
Okay, yeah, I was on the right track, but not quite.
Yeah.
So it's like a robot goes, "This statement is a lie," and then shoots itself. Basically that gag, but with a lot more humanity to it.
Mm-hmm.
Hitting a logical contradiction and realizing that if the law is ultimate, then there can be no contradiction. Therefore,
there system error.
Yeah.
Please reboot.
Yeah, oh, here's 3 options: reboot, restart, suicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's Magneto.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that with Magneto, it's basically like he's an example of terrible things happen to me. I want to keep those said bad things from happening to other people of a similar group that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to inflict terrible things on others who oppress me because that's fair. That's that same kind of justice that we were talking about with Javert. Except that he never really has his moment of, holy crap, I am the monster that I sought to destroy, which really would have made his character a lot better. Instead, they just made Magneto a nominal hero and just said, yep, you were right. Despite the fact that they spent a very, very, very long time insinuating that he was not. Whatever. That's the fun thing about writing hypocrites. The writer is not exempt from being a hypocrite.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things about Magneto that made him one of my favorite villains.
Oh, it's so loft.
With that face, that is really. That's one of those comments that really matches the avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think in many respects, like, you have to either have somebody who is kind of either an idealist, usually like an idealist, like Ra's al Ghul is an idealist, for example. He says that Gotham should be better, but it needs to break down completely in order for things to work. Same with the High Sparrows, saying that the ideals of the Faith of the Seven are not being kept to in this kingdom. There needs to be reform. And he manages to manipulate things so that he can basically create his own private army so that he can start making King's Landing conform to more rigid standards of morality.
Make King's Landing religious again.
Yeah.
Don't bring that into this place.
Yeah. Basically, like, he says, all of you are way too rich and up there to understand the plight of the poor people. Like he said, like, he's kind of like coming from, according to his story, he used to be a relatively wealthy man who made shoes, but then he decided, no, I want to forsake my life of sin.
And then he stopped working. And then he became a
wandering priest.
Yep.
Technically, there are a couple of heroes in Game of Thrones. I would say that Jon Snow is an example of a hero.
The clone
Ice King.
Yeah.
The Ice King just wants to kill everybody. That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't discriminate. I kill women and children as well.
Yeah. Dany is also technically an example of a hero until the end, where they screw everything up. But we won't talk about that here.
I'm a perfectly normal person, and I don't want to be Queen of the Ashes. One season later, becomes Queen of the Ashes.
Yeah, we have a whole stream talking about Game of Thrones in a couple weeks ago. You may check that out. It's the why Yezin and why he is wrong, why he wants us to forgive Game of Thrones. Those are the streams. And so you should look up if you want to see our Game of Thrones things or our coverage of Dragon Demands. Which we should do another one of those. We should do another one of those.
Yeah, we should.
I'll probably pick up like one of like why David Benioff's weird, David Benioff and an unpredictable ending.
Ooh, yeah.
We get to spend a whole stream trashing on Benioff.
Yeah. Well, we can spend multiple streams because he's crazy. But I think like it seems as though we kind of have reaction villains who say, this happened to me, or a group of people that I cared about. I'm going to make sure that nothing like it happens to me again, or nothing happens like that again. Or they're idealists trying to reform a system, but they're doing it through violent or brutal means. Or they have a rigid moral compass that they want enforced.
It's like, if you look at this compared to the utilitarian antagonists, the utilitarian thinks that the protagonists that oppose him are moral antagonists to him. Whereas the moral antagonist sees the other side as the utilitarian antagonist. You don't actually care about any kind of system. You're just going along to get ahead for your own purposes, and you should abide by a system of an objective code.
Rules and values, yeah.
Mhm.
I think also basically like a moral antagonist would be kind of looking at the hero as you're just a cog in the you're just a cog in the system who's refusing to move in the way that it should.
You refuse to see the oppression that you are participating in.
Versus a moral antagonist who would view their antagonist as somebody who is immoral or delusional. Delusional in terms of you have like Ra's al Ghul with Batman. He says to Batman, like, I can see that you are moral, but you're ultimately dumb because you are protecting a system that doesn't work.
And to that I say good is not dumb.
Yeah.
Well, the response to all of these is that they all see moral antagonists and utilitarians all see systems. They don't see individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like Thanos does not see the individual that he vaporizes in order to see his Malthusian vision come across. And Magneto doesn't see the individual human who may even be sympathetic to mutant rights.
The fun thing about moral antagonists is you can go, okay, he has a point, but I still want to see him get his nose broken.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I chose a person that was trying to be the editor tried to portray as the antagonist, but never brought up a reason for why he should be the antagonist.
And you know, for the go ahead.
No, go.
For those who want to like see this in practice, we're doing a Discord watch through of Avengers: Earth Mightiest Heroes, and you're going to see that pretty quickly when we start getting into the Kang the Conqueror arc.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Which ones did you watch recently?
We watched the essentially the episodes that were focused on the Kree Skrull War and specifically the Secret Invasion adaptation.
Okay. Gosh, that was so much better than Captain Marvel.
Everything we
Yes.
watched was better than the MCU as a whole.
Yeah.
I think that Winter Soldier holds up as a very tight spy movie.
Well,
It's like, oh, that's an idea for another stream. Everybody likes things for different reasons, so there are tropes that we're willing to forgive and those that we're not willing to forgive. Pose this as a topic for future streams.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Yeah. What else? What else? I think, like, in terms of, like, moral antagonists, usually somebody with, like, religious law or moral or, like, idealist convictions are usually the best cases for moral antagonists.
Okay, I guess this is a pretty good example. That Shiro Kodamine. He was trying. They failed to make him the antagonist on so many levels. Because they portray him as nothing but being a really bad saint, but yet like the most righteous goal of all. The salvation of all of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
In actual salvation, not some twisted, warped sense of salvation that involves killing anyone and everyone.
I guess, like, kind of to a certain extent, we can include Dracula from Castlevania, where he's like, humanity sucks.
What is a man, a miserable pile of secrets?
What?
That famous line from the games. What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets.
I was
Is that basically along the lines of that characterization?
The characterization that is used is basically humanity killed his wife, the only person who is worthwhile in terms of humanity, and then he goes wild trying to cleanse humanity. But he's he's not anger-filled in the series. He's more tired and just wanting it to be done with.
Is he immortal at that point?
Yeah, he is immortal.
So it's like the character has seen all this stuff. It's not just he's going on, it's like hearsay or this happens to me, it must happen elsewhere. He knows for a fact that this has been an issue for a long time, and it's not any closer to getting fixed now than it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. It's basically the people who see the wheel, see that a wheel needs to be turned, but then they want to shove the wheel into action.
I want to save the world, so I'm gonna burn it to do it.
Mm-hmm. Or say, you know what? Ryan Johnson's philosophy would actually be an interesting philosophy for a bad guy.
And what is his philosophy exactly?
I would be
Destroy the past.
I mean, like, I would be kind of worried if people came up to me and said, "Well, that was just a good movie." Having people come up to you and say that was the best movie, one of the best movies I've ever seen, versus somebody who said that was the worst movie I've seen. Having those two extremes to me is indicative of the kind of movie I want to make.
Oh, that stupid God.
A villain who wants discussion, but their kind of discussion is just rampant chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be just chaotic.
Yeah, probably.
I want to sow the seeds of chaos in order to be recognized as a sower of it.
Yeah, greater good villains. Yeah, that's a good example. Basically, like, it's for the greater good. Like he says, like people would just say, like, I'm doing this terrible thing, but it's for a good cause.
Yeah, those are the worst kind of people.
Why did you blow up the school bus? It's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Okay, I killed 200 people, but it's to save 800 people from being killed. I risked
Gosh, there was so much better than Captain Marvel. Watching paint dry is much better than watching Captain Marvel. Yes.
The only reason why I put him as a moral is because he is basing his position around a kind of moral outrage.
Yes. Go ahead.
His plan, yes. Well, no, not just the plan. Everything about Killmonger doesn't make sense. Killmonger is the indicative of the worst aspects of Black Panther. And as well as, like, another issue is the fact that I think that Ryan Coogler just overwrote the movie, because there was originally like a 4 or 5 hour cut of the movie, and they had to shave it down. So a lot of things about it were probably lost.
May I?
So go for it.
Okay, the reason Killmonger screwed up is he was the wrong. Like I said, he is not the kind of character that you hand a moral compass to under any circumstances, because he is, like I described him earlier, Black Panther's Bane. He has all the skills, all the powers that Black Panther has, and can match them pretty much on the same level, if not directly overcome them. The problem is he's a dick. He doesn't understand the kinds of things that make Black Panther a character, and he represents the kind of character that Black Panther would be if he didn't have that strength of heart that the character is known for. In particular to Killmonger, he represents Black Panther without restraint. And that's why he kills all over the place. Because Black Panther kills too. Black Panther kills plenty. Lots of Marvel characters kill plenty, but that's a discussion for another day.
The only one that I can
he
think
kills
of
because
it's just like Daredevil. It's like Daredevil, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four are the exceptions. Iron Man kills people. Captain America kills people.
Well,
Thor kills people.
in the case with Spider-Man, he already has J. Jonah Jameson demonizing him, so he kind of can't do that in order to show people that he's not what J. Jonah Jameson paints him as.
I don't think he underacted the role. I think that Michael B. Jordan is the only thing that is giving Killmonger redemptive qualities, because like he's able to be somewhat funny, not often, but like just like his dry sense of humor works. Like just saying, "Hey, Auntie," in a really, really just really like calm, nonchalant tone. And sometimes like he gives like impassioned speeches, but yes, the role was not written very well. And
Yeah, Killmonger was the wrong character to adapt. That should have that kind of dramatic weight should have fallen on M'Baku.
yes, the white ape guy.
Oh. I don't remember any character from that film.
Don't worry. When we get to Earth's Mightiest Heroes, you'll see him very quickly.
Yeah,
At least-
he's very M'Baku. He's very different in the comics or TV show. The TV show kind of leans into his man ape persona versus versus the movie, which just says, okay, we're just gonna make him a good guy.
No.
Politically, he represents a Quaker, not Quaker, Amish, essentially. Because he believes that the Wakandan technology has made all the vibranium technology has made them weak. They've lost sight of what made them strong.
It's the Luddite perspective.
Doing Luddites.
What?
Luddites.
What?
I like.
No. Okay, stop it.
Yeah. So it's kind of a lot of I think like that's kind of, if we're kind of breaking down like what exactly one of the moral antagonist is, like I think that's the main thing. It's basically like person who has righteous indignation over something that was done to them. In the case of Magneto, somebody who like views corruption and wants to reform a system through brutal means. High Sparrow. Same thing with Ra's al Ghul, who sees like the world needs to be fixed and decides to do it with brutal tactics in terms of destroying a city, or somebody who just has a very strong ethical code based around judicial system.
And is merciless in their code.
Yes, and basically just has no room for any kind of deviation. So now is the time for you guys to chat with us. So your questions, and let's kind of discuss for the next 20 or so minutes.
This is a very short stream.
Mm-hmm. It has been.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just like keeping focused and just kind of being able to kind of just keep focused. I think like just kind of specifically talking about a couple things, as well as like I created a short prezi as well.
We're not even an hour in.
Yeah. Well, we got a good crowd but I would like to, like, if everybody could ask as many questions as they would like, the time is yours.
Okay, Dr. Crow asks, why should we believe the villain is right?
It's not that we believe if the villain is right or not. It's that they believe that they are right. That's how the character works.
Or at least, like, the villain has some measure of a point. Like, an example is, like, Pierce is an example of a character who says, if you could kill a person before they do something, like, say, if your daughter was in danger and you had the opportunity to just have a gun point at the guy and just shoot him, would you do it? And he kind of represents that kind of thing. Kingpin is saying Hell's Kitchen sucks. You need to
Fix it.
You need to fix it. Ishamael is basically nihilism, where he's saying the wheel is turning over and over and over again. What's the point? We should probably just speed up entropy, just so it can all end. and Harvey Dent is just random chance in relation to should this person live or die.
Okay, next up, Johan asks, so are villains who are right also gray?
I would say that they have to be, in order for them to have some measure of, like, usually a gray villain, like an example of like a black evil character is just a character who just does things for evil's sake usually, or just has no, or just does things for cruelty purposes. Like Ramsay Snow doesn't have a psychology to him other than I want to hurt people because I enjoy doing it. He's smart, but he doesn't do it. Is the Joker right? Within the context, he is technically wrong in the case of the fairies, but he is right in terms of as soon as the possibility of Batman being bad, like when it turns out when they released that he killed a bunch of killed the people, or at least like fake that he killed the people, they did turn on him. Yeah, they did turn on him and cast him out like a leper. So he is technically right in that aspect, and he's also right in terms of like when certain things go according to plan, like a bunch of soldiers dying in a war zone versus a mayor dying, there's more outcry. He's right in that aspect, I think. But he ultimately is wrong that the people on the ferries would eat each other.
Are we talking about the Dark Knight continuity, right?
Yeah, Dark Knight.
That's one of those characters where you have to be really specific about which version you're talking about, because they're not always consistent. I thought you were talking about Joaquin Phoenix's Joker for a second.
Joaquin Phoenix is basically he just says, I'm going to kill anybody who was bad to me.
Yeah, he's like a very, very, very discount Punisher.
Yeah. So, strawman of people we don't like.
Done.
I don't write them as strawmen because I don't really write them as... I write them as caricatures of themselves in a lot of ways. Just like, kind of, I'll take something about them. Like, I know that Alex Shaw is, like, very anti-racist and very anti-immortality. So I basically made the bad guy that I based him off of really, really want immortality and is willing to murder for it. As well as being racist against humans.
Personally, I don't really have the time to strawman people I don't like, because it's like every character I write is based a little bit on myself, and I'm asshole enough for it to go around, and I can get it. I can get a lot of economy out of my assholishness. I don't need Ryan Johnson or Bob Chipman to help.
Yeah, I just write them in for my own sense of catharsis. Because, like, I just read... That was one example. Though I also had kind of just a little bit of, like... I wrote Alex Shaw again in Prince of Winter, where he's just, like, an assassin. Like, that's kind of what I'm typecasting him as. Where basically he just commits murder, and then the guy comes down and then just crushes his skull against a wall. All with his fist. Which is like, oh, that is so satisfying to write. Anyway... but I don't like give them their own philosophy and discount their philosophy. I usually just put them in as like just people I just want to die, like just red shirts essentially.
Yeah, I pretty much followed that philosophy. They're here so that they can be defeated. If you want me to go into deeper explanations, wait for me to get better at writing.
Though I would have put Terry Goodkind in there at some point, but considering that the man is passed, I'm going to wait on that for a while. because I do not like Terry Goodkind. I didn't like Terry Goodkind either as a writer or as a person, but since he's dead, I'm going to give him a grace period.
Johan asks, how can you make a villain
well-
feel?
Well, first off, I think like this is actually a very good point from Dr. Crow.
Just because you're
factual
correct
right.
doesn't mean you're right.
I think that's a good point. Like that's kind of usually the definition of like villains who are right is that they're factually right, but they're not morally centered, or at least their morals are off. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yes. Because that certainly fits Magneto, who I'm the most familiar with, even though I'm not in the comics.
Yeah.
He's objectively right, but morally he's wrong.
That's an interesting premise in that question. How can you make a villain feel something? You can't really control how your audience reads into a character. All you can do is deliver suggestions, and you can't control your reader. They're going to see what they want to, whatever they want in your story, and there's basically nothing you can do about it. You can say what you intended for your story, but
like how a lot of people read that Killmonger was right. Like that Killmonger was right only up until the point where he said we should kill children. But it's just like no, he's wrong the whole way through.
And that was because they didn't make him feel believable. And the reason, and what they could have done is actually given him more evidence or justification, or, just not made him a murdering asshole.
Or something.
It's like the most Killmonger thing he did in that movie was kill Claw out of nowhere. That's Killmonger.
Imagine Imagine reading a villain and doing something insanely evil with the footnote saying, "Done. This is you." Oh, I would feel immensely.
What do you think
flattered.
Captain Hydra was?
I would feel immensely flattered if somebody put me in a book. And honestly, like I would just be like, "Oh, thank you. I have enough clout to merit this." But for me, I just like put people I hate so that I can brutally kill them. Fiction. That's the main reason why I do
that's
that.
cathartic.
Yeah, and maybe some people would say that's that's psychologically unhealthy. You need to get help in terms of you're getting pleasure from people's pain. It's like from the idea of people's pain. It's like no, I'm just saying that these people are. I don't like these people, and I'm going to eviscerate them in fiction, just like Chaucer did. And I don't feel like turning them into caricatures is quite enough. I want to give them something memorable so that they stand out. I don't know who this person is, so
Nope.
Dutch
Van der Linde.
Dutch Vanderland. I have never heard of this person, so I don't.
I've never heard of them either.
Okay,
I give up.
Oh, he's from Red Dead Redemption 2.
I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 1. I'm not a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, he's in Red Dead Redemption, period.
I just don't care.
Okay, what did you see? Gun saw something.
Okay, now I'm worried.
Dear, oh my goodness. Oh,
What?
this is going. Oh my goodness. One second. Let me pull it up. Keep talking while I pull this up.
Well, nobody's asked anything new yet.
Okay, I don't know anything about Dutch Van der Linde's character, so let me look into him.
Let's see.
If I do know, he has a deep-seated hatred. Okay, yeah. Okay,
One of our friends, our favorite content creators,
No.
is just barely posted a new video.
Oh no.
Wait, who is it?
Who is it?
No, you dare. No, please don't. No. No. Don't.
Oh no.
Maggie May Fish takes it upon herself to discuss Breaking Bad, American Desert, Breaking Bad, and Punishment Park.
Okay, so she has a track record of taking 2 seconds of something and conflating it into a 20-minute video, at the least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see. What exactly is this about? Okay, so
Occupation Army, take that back.
what?
Of course, Neph's idol.
She's
Take
not.
that back. Take that back.
Occupation Army, what you just said is heresy.
Blam!
It gives me a headache.
Oh, well, have fun later. Flies away.
Oh no, you don't. Drake, give me your bolt rifle right quick.
I'm gonna need a heavy
Uh-oh.
bolter for this heresy.
Yeah. It was basically like, I want... Okay, so basically what this is discuss the TV show Breaking Bad in conversation with the movie Punishment Park. Don't you mean conjunction with? Use words.
Oh, God. Wait, what was the word she used instead of conjunction?
Conversation with.
Oh,
What
I
learn
conversation?
how to talk.
I'm considering I kind of want to watch her cats video.
No.
You'll do whatever I tell you to do.
Damn it, you're right.
Yeah.
Only because I follow Neph around.
Yeah. Hi there. Yeah. Yeah, it's like do it.
Okay, if we can have to do it in chat.
Thanks.
At least it wasn't School of Movies.
Yeah, because School of Movies.
School of Movies is legitimately dangerous.
Yeah.
They're bad for my health.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do their toxic fandom video.
Great. I just felt okay. So for some reason, my cholesterol level went up.
Okay. So, well, no, we're not necessarily at the end. I just kind of like saw that and just like, wow, you Harridan, you asinine bint. You are going to cover one of the best shows of all time. All right, grabs popcorn and shotgun.
Yeah, because we gonna shoot her.
Yeah, quick, let's
Not
play.
literally, of course.
Grab the shotgun, for I am the one who cocks.
Yeah, everyone, grab a sniper rifle. We're gonna be playing shoot the fish. Here's the order.
Actually, honestly, I've never
Okay.
seen Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad
I
is
can't.
awesome.
I haven't either.
Breaking Bad is awesome. Okay, yes, that would be great. Attack conjunction. Alrighty. So any other questions that y'all have? Like, I think we'll go for another like 11 minutes or so.
Yeah, we'll be shooting her in Minecraft. Criminal imagination.
Oh,
Here's the order of shooting. It goes done to Neph, then Drake, then Neph, then done.
I
then
missed the glorious return of framing monsters and missed most of this stream. Thanks, college.
Yeah, you missed out on the greatest point. You maybe saw the most unironic on the hatred of Islam.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, yeah, that is. What is
Yeah.
this English teacher with? Why is he obsessed with giving history lessons?
did Did Thanos do the right thing? I would say.
Which Thanos?
Which
Yeah,
one?
which Thanos?
Thanos.
You
in
have to
the
specify
movie-
between Infinity War and Endgame Thanos too.
Yeah. Endgame Thanos is very much just a simple early Marvel antagonist. No redeeming qualities, just bad guy. And I weirdly enough, School of Movies loved that.
Of course
They-
they did. They don't like bad guys with depth.
Well, the weirdest thing was they liked Thanos when he came out, and then the Thanos was right made them angry. All of the Thanos was right videos on Thanos was right essays on YouTube pissed them off and said this is genuinely harmful. Nazis are way too common. Disney needs to address this.
Thanos was a Nazi?
Yeah, no.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no.
Fuck!
You know, of all the things they called Nazis, they actually got it pretty close. Malthus was actually in that same sort of school of thought as the Nazis, and that if you wanted to save humanity, you have to kill tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of people.
Yeah, no.
They were
No.
cousin schools of thought.
Yeah, it's the whole overpopulation thing is dumb.
And it's always been dumb. If we were
Yeah.
actually running into shortages of resources, that means that we're not using our resources properly, because nothing was a resource before we knew how to use it. Petroleum wasn't a resource until last century.
That's actually a good point, Nick Brown. Woodes Rogers, but for example, Woodes Rogers is a British idealist officer working to cleanse piracy from the Caribbean. And he's technically in the right in terms of pirates are not good people, and they ultimately create problems. It is just that our protagonists are pirates that we side against him.
Yeah.
Usually it's like moral antagonists are usually like the protagonists are either framed or they are criminals is another thing that usually comes up. Like Beckett, for example, in the Pirates movies, is technically in the right. He's saying that pirates are cancerous and they need to be taken out. And so
And privateers were basically legalized looting, which is not a good thing.
yeah.
Hey, as long as it's legal, so you can do it wherever you want.
No, actually, that's not what it was. As
There were
long
codes
as
of
you
rules.
had a certificate of privateering, I believe it was, you
Letters
could.
of mark. They're called letters of marque.
Yeah, letter to mark. As long as you had a letter of mark, you could loot anyone except someone flying your own flag.
Yeah, that was the rule for many British privateers.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
If you see a ship that's flying the Union Jack, do not attack it.
Yep.
Everyone else was free game. Even your allies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Woodes Rogers, the guy in history, the guy who ends piracy. Ismano was stopped by Nassau for many years. Piracy ended, commerce restored. Well, piracy must never end. Well, piracy isn't ended. It's just never.
Somalian pirates, we.
Look at me! Look at me! This stream is right now.
Yeah. So, so in terms of, is there any more questions that y'all have in the next 5 minutes? But until the next, we can kind of discuss scheduling. So for the next little bit, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be in October. We're going to start up our spooky topic streams.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Spooky Month is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Are we still going to be called And of course, we're going to be coupling that up with some fraying monsters.
Yep, because we can't have monsters without outframing monsters.
Yes.
Great. This is going to be fun. So stream topic schedule. So how it's going to work is, so the next stream is going to be on the 24th, and that is going to be how to write alternative history fiction. And then we don't really have anything planned necessarily for Tuesday the 29th or Thursday the 1st. We're going to be starting them up on the 6th. So that way we can kind of go like, okay, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just kind of alternate and go through the schedule. But essentially, currently what it is no, she's a psychopath. Let's just go with that.
Immoral villain.
Yeah.
Why stop at psychopath? Let's just call
She's
her.
not consistent enough. She's like an agent of chaos who doesn't know she's an agent of chaos.
So she's for the Alpha Legion.
She's just chaotic. She's
Yeah.
not good. She's not evil. She's not neutral. She's just chaotic.
Chaotic, stupid.
She thinks that
Yes.
she thinks that she has like a moral progressive agenda, but she's just psycho.
She thinks she's lawful good, but she's the opposite of lawful good.
Yeah. So first week we're going to be doing is we're going to be chatting about like kind of setting the groundwork. We're going to be talking about first day we're going to talk about horror as a genre, horror settings, and then horror genre as a genre, then horror settings on day 2. Week 2 is going to be talking about the players. Day 1 is classic monsters such as werewolves and vampires, as well as old classic horror stuff like Frankenstein, Dracula, etc.
Anything for Lovecraft in there?
I would imagine we would probably put Lovecraft in there as like, well, the original literary stuff. And then we would go, and then day 2 we would go for more recent stuff like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Jason Voorhees, and kind of discuss them. If anybody is very familiar with those horror icons, I would love to have you guys on, because I'm not intimately familiar with them. The ones that I'm familiar more with is Dracula and Frankenstein and the Wolfman. And kind of just
I'm more familiar with them.
Okay. And then we're kind of going to go with week 3 is going to be horror protagonists, just how they work, how to make a good horror protagonist. And I'll take a backseat on that one, since the main thing that I just know are like the tropes of horror protagonists, like the jock, the final girl, and stuff like that.
Ooh, we should watch the Case of Leslie Vernon or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called.
I think
What
one
is
horror.
that? Because I have not heard of it.
It starts out as a found footage film of these documentary filmmakers going out and interviewing an actual slasher villain. They all think it's just like documenting the experience, and we see it's extremely genre savvy. We see all the stuff about how the slasher villain is basically like picking his victims and rigging the house and all the engineering work that goes into being a slasher villain. And it's like all the cardio he has to do in order to like jog after somebody, then walk after them ponderously, and how he kicks his victims and how he picks his final girl and stuff like that. It's a huge breakdown of everything that slasher villains are known for. And it's like how he screws up their car and steals their spark plugs after they get in, stuff like that.
Another example of a more recent horror icon is Hannibal Lecter. That's one I'm more familiar with, since I watched Silence of the Lambs and the Hannibal TV show, so I feel like I have a good grasp on what makes the character the character.
Man, more recent, we're still picking like stuff that's become classics.
Yeah.
I have watched all 4 Hannibal films.
And then there's day 2 would be miscellaneous monsters and how they could be used in horror, like basically just kind of be a kind of spitballing like what could be some interesting monsters that could be used in horror settings that we haven't seen in very often.
Yes.
I
Come to think of it, what new horror villains have actually gotten off the ground? Jigsaw is literally the only one I can think of.
think a good horror monster would be the Minotaur, personally. And yeah, that's digging into mythology, but
Another example might be what is it? Like of a horror icon could be like the Slender Man, maybe. Even though that movie was trash.
Oh, like yeah, modern
Pinhead.
horror is really more in the vein of like creepypastas, like people coming up with stuff on their own, like SCP.
As well as like Evil Dead's kind of like the villain of that is the Necronomicon, but
The remake or
both. Well, both of the things. So, and then week 4 would be horror tones, and then the last thing is just going to be an open horror discussion with just people about like what could be done to use some ideas to make horror interesting, keep it fresh, I guess. Like I guess like what are some tired tropes of horror and how can we like make them more
or
creative?
what tropes need to come back?
Yeah, that too. We had a few things.
Jason Voorhees not right?
Did
oh no, don't.
Well, that's
No.
That's
You'll abstain from sex when you're dead.
Wait, there's
which horror movies are right? I don't know of any. Most horror movie villains are usually either animal monsters or they're murderers usually.
Again, there was Jigsaw, but you have to pick your movie very carefully because the movies are extremely inconsistent on what his philosophy is.
Same with Dracula and Freddy's kind of just a child murderer. Yeah.
really? Is there 5 Hannibal films?
Alrighty. Well, I think that is pretty much it. And I do have to say to anybody who didn't like this stream, I'm going to be petty.
And if you don't like it, no offense, but you have boring taste and I don't want to be friends with you.
Somebody got a new clip.
That and you're giving done money.
Yep.
Donny.
You know that Dunny is Australian for toilet, right?
So, quick question. So, can a villain win that was right after all?
Technically, Ozymandias ends at the end of Watchmen.
Oh, in what way? The one thing that immediately reminds me of is the first Marvel Civil War from the comics, where the pro-registration and anti-registration, I'm assuming most people know the history of it by now. There was a freaking movie and there were a lot of videos about the actual comic. But anyway, it came down to pro-registration and anti-registration, and they were largely depicted as equal, and then it's just the anti-registration comics were just written so much better that the pro-registration just started to fall apart in a lot of people's actual IRL zeitgeist, and lost a lot of sympathy, mostly from Tony Stark locking people up in interdimensional prisons that were basically comparable to actual literal hell. And then it turns out the anti-registration had a lot more actual support, but in the end, it was the pro-registration side that were canonically explicitly stated to have been right the whole time. And so, can a villain win that was right after all? Yes. The question is, why?
Thanos technically wins at the end of end of Infinity War, but that's because that's the end of a first chapter of a 2-part story.
But was he right after all? What do you mean right after all?
I think that kind of like I think he's kind of wrong that like the resources are terrible, but like there were some improvements. Overall, like more people died because of the chaos and fallout, but he is but in terms of the ecosystems, he did technically go right. But
Well, Infinity Gauntlet, he could just double the resources. Yes, everybody makes that argument, but that's because what Thanos was trying to do was such a stupid idea.
yeah. Alrighty. So actually, if you guys have any topics that you would like to discuss on I think it is the 29th and the 1st, please put them in the comments and in the Discord. I would love to chat about that. Yeah, that's a good point. The villain for No Country for Old Men wins. That's a good point.
Still need to see that.
Well, we're watching well, it's there are a few places where you can watch it for free.
Yep.
Oh, I acquired a copy.
Oh, you acquired
Yar,
a copy.
har, fiddle me.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So the 29th of September, yes. So please, if you have anything, please. What?
Oh no.
What is that? I keep hearing about it. Is that like some kind of like inappropriate law?
Rule 34. If it exists, there is porn of it.
No. That is not worthy of our time. That's just a statement of fact. Yeah. Alrighty. If you have any suggestions, please put them in the comments or the Discord.
Oh, Black Slayer's back again.
Yeah.
Black Slayer's back. All right.
Black Slayer. That is technically like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, the internet is full of it. Let's conclude this. Yeah, if you guys want us to chat about something, either put it in the Discord or in the comments. If you leave a comment, I will try my best to respond. Just hit me up, and we will see you all later. But until then,